guys, and welcome back to another of my videos. If you're new here, you're very welcome, and if you haven't already, please go hit that subscribe button down below to keep up to date with all my new content and videos that I'll be releasing to help you guys on your journey to medicine. In this video, I thought it would be useful to share with you some hints and tips and some advice on how to choose the university that is right for you when wishing to study a course like medicine. As I am sure you are aware, a course like medicine is roughly 5 to 6 years long, and this is quite a long time to be in one location and studying. So it's essential that you choose a university that ticks all your boxes and will give you the best student experience possible. So here are some of my key tips and tricks that I used when choosing the university that I wanted to study medicine at. So tip number one, first of all, I would suggest making a long list of all the things that you want in a possible university. This might be kind of crazy list and it might have a lot of things on it, but it's important to see what your priorities are when wishing to study in that location for a 5-year course. Some things that you might want to include on this list and that might be important to you could be things like the location, if it has sports facilities, the style of teaching and the teaching facilities. Is it a campus? Is it located in the centre of a city? It might be, is it easy to get transport to and from? Is it expensive? You might want to think about if there are shops nearby or if you will be able to use the university's campus shops. There are so many things to think about, and it is important to have a clear idea of things that you find a priority when choosing your universities. After making a long list of all your priorities and things that you find important, it's a good idea to then start looking at what the university's criteria is for selecting its students. Some universities will have really strict criteria that an eligible student must meet, so it's important to have a good idea of this before trying to choose your university. You might want to ask yourself some questions like, does it require the UCAT or the BMAT? Will you have to sit both of them? Does it have a cutoff score for the UCAT or the BMAT? Does this mean that you will be eligible for it with the score that you already have? Or if you haven't yet sat the tests, will you have to push yourself that extra bit to make sure you pull out great high marks? Do they look very heavily at your personal statement or at interviews? Do they have very specific subjects that you have to have sat at GCSE, AS and A-level? Do you prefer to sit an MMI style of interview or do you prefer a panel style of interview? Do they focus heavily on work experience and volunteering? And if so, have you done this before or are you going to plan to do this? There are so many questions and criteria that universities look for, so it is really important that when you are choosing the university that you really like and think that you will fit with, that you will actually be able to go to it with your criteria that you can tick the boxes off. There's nothing worse than finding the university that you think is absolutely perfect for you to then not get into because you didn't check the criteria that make you eligible or not to being selected for that uni. After that, it's a good idea to start thinking about all the things that you've accomplished already. This can be a great indicator as to whether you will be able to select your universities of choice, or do you have a lot more things to get accomplished before you can choose your university that you wish to. This might be going and finding some work experience or some voluntary work. You might need to go and brush up on some skills like empathy or teamwork or commitment, and there are so many ways of doing this. And if you do need help with any of the tips that I'm giving, please go check out the rest of my channel for more videos on all of these things that I'm mentioning. So after I made that long priority list at the start, I then started realizing that some of my priorities weren't actually the major ones, and I started narrowing down that list to my key specific priorities that was basically a make or break whether I wanted to choose that university or not. I then started looking around and trying to find universities that fitted into the top criteria of my specifics that I wanted to gain for a university. It does take quite a while to do, and websites like the university websites as well as the medic portal were really helpful in choosing and narrowing down some of the universities that I had and kind of had an idea that I might want to go to. Websites like the Medic portal were really useful for showing what style of teaching, or if it had a high acceptance rate, or if there was like extra fees, or if it allowed intercalation or not. And all of these were sort of things that were on my priorities. So I was able to instantly cut away some that were PBL or some that were traditional styles of teaching. I was also able to find out then if they needed the UCAT and the BMAT, or if it was just UCAT universities, and I kind of already decided that I only wanted to sit the UCAT exam. So that instantly cancelled off some of the other options of universities around the UK. So as I've already kind of touched on a little bit, it's really important to bear in mind the criteria that the universities are looking for. For example, if you have not completed certain GCSEs or A levels, don't get totally put off straight away. There may be some loopholes that you might be able to use to your advantage and actually gain a place at that university if that is something you want to do. I know that one of my friends, for example, hadn't sat a specific subject at GCSE that the university looked for, and therefore in her AS year she actually sat the GCSE as well. Things like this can be extra time consuming and it can be a little bit more difficult. However, if it is something that you really wish to study, then you will just make those sort of sacrifices and see the benefit in the long term. Don't get disheartened if things seem to be a little difficult when deciding which university fits you best. There are 33 medical schools around the UK, and that means that there are plenty of opportunities for you to tick off some of your top priority criteria when selecting the universities that you wish to study at. It's important to note that on your UCAS form, you have the opportunity to select only 4 medical schools to study at. Your 5th choice, if you choose one, is that it has to be for a different subject and it can't be for another medical school. Many students sort of forget about this, but it is important to have a backup choice like biomedical science or chemistry, or there's so many other subjects that students that want to study medicine will put down. So keep your options open and have a good look around for backup courses that you might also wish to study at if you don't make it into your universities for medicine. So my first tip, and possibly the most important tip that I learned, was to think cleverly about selecting certain universities. It's very easy to fall straight in love with your absolute favourite universities. However, you only have the option to choose 4, and it is always a good idea to have a bit of a backup one just in case things don't go as you expect. At the end of the day, regardless of where you sit your course, you will be coming out with the same degree. And as much as you might not choose the university to be your first and favourite, it is important to look at grades and choose one that may be slightly lower in grades to allow you the opportunity, if things don't go well, to have a backup and to get onto a medicine course regardless. Another tip would be keep all your options open. At the very start, whenever I was choosing unis, I instantly crossed off certain ones because I just didn't really like them or they didn't fit the criteria or my priorities. However, it's important not to cross off too many and leave yourself with very limited choice. As time goes on, you might actually find out more information about certain universities and you might actually find that they fit you better than you expected. This might be through open days, virtual or in real life, or it might be from like conventions like UCAS conventions where you get to speak to the university admissions team and they give you a better insight to what the course is really like. Don't be too set in stone, things can change over time and it's good to keep open-minded when selecting a university. So once you've picked your favorite ones, make sure to go into more detail and don't just like take them at face value. Sometimes there can be some hidden criteria or things that you wouldn't have even thought about when selecting the university. So it's a good idea to make sure you are totally aware of everything that the university offers and doesn't offer and any criteria that you need to meet. To get a better idea of the universities that you are potentially choosing, it is a good idea to take a day trip, or if you're going to an interview or passing through the location, do have a look around at things like accommodation, at the surroundings, at the style of the buildings and the teaching facilities, and get talking to some students, because at the end of the day, they are there and they have chosen it for specific reasons, which you might have not even considered. So I hope you found some of those tips useful and can maybe start thinking a bit more about the universities that you're potentially going to choose. If you would like any more information or help, please leave a comment down below or get in touch with me via my Instagram. And if you are still struggling, go and check out my video all about how I chose my universities and why I decided to choose them. If you haven't already, please go hit that subscribe button down below and check out the rest of my videos for more help and tips on how to go through the application process for medicine and how to choose your universities. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!